Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Springfield Township Board of Trustees meeting. Today is December the 10th, 2019, and it's about 5:30 p.m. And Mr. Burning, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Burning, present. Mr. Honolaw,
Present.
Ms. McFarland,
Present.
all trustees are present.
And I would like the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like our officers to come to the front and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, all of the staff, since they're here. Thank you.
Before we go on with our agenda this evening, we'd like to have the trustees come down front for a presentation of a special award. And you, Mr. Burning. Gwen, come on up here, front and center. You know what this is? This is Gwen's last regular meeting as a Springfield Township trustee. Gwen's been on the Board of Trustees for the past 23 years, and I'll tell you, we have a small presentation for you here, Gwen. It has been, I just want to say a few words, though. It has been such a pleasure to work with you. Gwen has got tireless energy. For the past 23 years, we both came on the board about the same time, you a little bit before me, yes. And she is always looking out for the best for the community. Tireless energy. There's never a committee or a function that she wouldn't volunteer for or put in her time. There was no place in the township that there wasn't. If there were a group of people that wanted to talk to her about township affairs, they needed your input, needed your help or support, you were always there for them. And we're going to miss you, that's for sure. You've always had, solid leadership, steady, a steady hand in our government. There aren't too many places, I don't think, that Gwen and I of 23 years have ever voted against each other on anything. We talk things over, we work it out, and we always try to do what's best for our township. So I'm going to turn it over here. Mark, you got some things to say.
Just a couple things, reiterate what Joe said, and also, ironically, when Gwen and I became friends was when I ran against her for trustee in 2011. And ironically, we ended up becoming good friends through the process and saw each other at different places around the township where there was voting going on, and nothing but positive from both of us. And I really learned a lot in the last 6 years from Gwen, and some days I wish I had half as much energy as she does. And she's 1 or 2 years older than me, I think, so I'm not sure. But Gwen,
Had I known this, I would have dressed for this event. That's all I can say. I have been in the car shop for 2.5 hours, and I meant to go home and change clothes and be dressed for success tonight. And had I known I was going to be around all these fantastic folks, I would have probably run home and changed clothes. But I thank you so much. Thank you for everything. It's just a pleasure.
we got a couple.
I really don't have much to say. I met Gwen when I first ran, and here I sat next to her for about 3 hours at a poll talking to voters, which I'm like, what's she doing here? So I'm going to miss you, dear. You've been great. You've been a good friend. You've been a great person to work with. And one little thing that we as a township got you is some flowers.
Thank you.
Also, Gwen, on behalf of the the Board of Trustees and the entire township, we want to present you with this special plaque and a gavel, and it's for 23 years of dedicated service as a trustee to Springfield Township from 1996 to the present. So you're always welcome here, and we're all friends, and we're sure we'll always continue that way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speech.
Lastly, our governor actually has recognized you. If you want to take a look at this certificate from the governor of the state of Ohio, recognizing your 23 years of service. And now it's your turn to give a speech, Gwen.
I am so honored and so humble, and I was sitting back in that room and I said, what's all that noise out there? And I can't think of a better way for my last meeting as a township trustee to consist of all of you all in this room, because had it not been for all of you and those that cannot be here who I work with every day, I could not be the person that I have been and will continue to be. Just working with you all is just phenomenal. And most of you know that when I go out and about across the county as well as at the state level, I talk about the great team that I work with. I am so fortunate and so honored that these last 26 years or 23? 23 years. I've never stayed in one place that long. And the only reason I have been able to do that is because I work with a great group of men and women like you all are. So you need to give yourselves a hand, because if it hadn't been for you, I don't think I would be where I am. And working with my colleagues here, you know, one of the things across this county as well as at the state level, they marvel and they envy the team spirit that we have here in Springfield Township. And we only have it because of all of you in this room and those that couldn't be here tonight. So thank you so much. I stay humble. Supposed to cry, but I can't help it.
We'll have a reception for Gwen a week from tonight from 4 to 7 at the Grove. So if you all are available, please stop by. We'll have, the bar will be open, and we'll have heavy hors d'oeuvres, and our final farewell to Gwen will be next Tuesday night from 4 to 7 at the Grove. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
That's a hard act to follow, God.
Now do your job.
I know, back to the real world. Okay. We need approval of minutes. Our last minutes, a special meeting was on October the 30th, 2019. Regular session was November the 12th, 2019, and our regular work sessions for November the 26th, 2019.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That motion is carried. Now, Mr. Burning, can you give us our fiscal report, please?
I'll go nice and slow, Gwen. to
Finance
get
report, give me.
hard to get you some composure back. For the month ending 11/30/2019, the township expenditures were $2,567,551.92, and receipts were $516,371.27. The ending cash balance of $19,814,951.07 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. What I request is a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, update, and current revenue and reports for the period ending November 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I just want everyone to know that financial reports are available during regular business hours here at the administration offices or on our website 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burning, for that extraordinary financial report as always. He keeps us out of trouble. Next, departmental action and discussion items. I'm going to turn the meeting now over to our Township Administrator, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, Ms. McFarland. This evening, I have two action items. The first of which, as the board is aware, we have several areas of the township which are not easily accessed for safety service purposes. And as a result, and to be more cost-effective in servicing those areas, we actually contract with neighboring jurisdictions to provide first responder service and medic, fire, and EMS service to those particular areas of the township on a contractual basis, which is more economical than us providing additional fire stations in those areas of the community. It's worked very well, and what I would ask is that because these agreements are nearing their maturity date at the end of this year, I would ask and recommend that we renew those agreements with those respective communities to provide that service, with one exception. The Village of Green Hills, I think, bears some additional conversation prior to re-entering into that agreement again. So I would ask that we table the Village of Green Hills conversation, but instead authorize the Township Administrator, myself, to enter into an agreement with Colerain Township and the City of Springdale to provide paramedic and firefighter safety services to the neighborhoods of Pleasant Run Farms and Hollydale respectively.
So we need a motion
I'll
on
make
that.
a motion to that effect. So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We'll continue the conversation with Green Hills and may subsequently enter into that agreement. However, I would rather have some additional conversation with the board about that in upcoming work sessions.
Okay, thank you.
Next on the agenda, I have a liquor permit hearing request for the Ambiance Nails and Salon at 8491 Winton Road, which is in the Brentwood Plaza. Is it Ambiance?
Ambiance.
Ambiance.
Yes, ambiance.
I'm reading things phonetically.
Okay.
All right. I'll make a motion that,
Rob, do you have any issues or?
No objection. This is a change in ownership stock only.
okay. I'll make a motion, then we send the appropriate letter to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Motion carries.
You holding up your nails, was that sort of an advertising?
No, I'm not marketing. I just want it, it's the way it went.
Didn't know if that was one of is that their work product that you're showing?
No.
I have several discussion items, the first of which I think necessitates some, I guess, congratulations to Mike Gould as well as some notification to the township that due to Mike's diligence and hard work and the state capital improvement program grant application process, the township was awarded actually $2 million in grant funding for road rehabilitation projects in the township. So we applied for almost $7 million in projects. We received $4 million worth of projects, $2 million of which will be in grant funding. It's the largest single grant award the township's ever received through the SCIP process. It's 20% of the funding that was available throughout the entire county. It's twice as much as any other community that received grant funding through the process in the county received. And it will rehabilitate 13 streets in total, 10 of which are in one particular project. And that's the largest rehabilitation project that the township's ever completed at one time. So I think hats off to Mike Gould. He has demonstrated his excellence in applying for these grants throughout the years, where we've received over the last 3 years almost $5 million in grant awards through the SCIP process, which I think is unbelievable that we've been able to bring that many grant dollars back to the community. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I think that we should really give Mike a hand for the extraordinary job that he did, because it's not easy to do what you've done, and it's very competitive. You know, we have to remember how competitive that whole process is. And it's not unusual when I'm out and about in the county and they talk about some of the things that we're doing from an infrastructural perspective, but also about how tough a negotiator you are in those meetings. So again, you just need to be given a hand for representing us and representing us well. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the board's support. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah, Mike, I'd like to say thank you also on behalf of really all the citizens of the township. You know, our infrastructure is one of our biggest financial challenges, and this is so important to get this state money to, you know, augment the funds that we have or money that we can put together to get some of these, you know, the streets that get in the worst shape are the ones that are so costly to repair, and this state funding is just vital in getting our streets, you know, where we want them to be overall, the conditions. So it's really a huge, you know, a big thing for Springfield Township, and particularly when, you know, we've gotten the amount of funding, $5 million over 3 years is pretty phenomenal, given the, I mean, this is a competitive process. Every jurisdiction in the county is trying to get these funds if they can, and so we appreciate all your efforts.
It's pretty amazing, really, that we got 30% of the total last year and 20% this year. And what is there, 80-something communities in the county?
47,
47 communities.
including the city of Cincinnati and the county itself.
Right. So for us to get that big a piece of the pie is pretty, obviously, it's not an accident. We didn't get lucky because we're doing it year in and year out, Mike. So great job.
I think one of the things that's phenomenal to me is a lot of these communities actually pay civil engineering firms to do their applications for them. And most of those communities did not receive funding, and some of which actually had their applications thrown out because they weren't done correctly.
It's very detail-oriented, that's for sure.
I think with that being said, it makes it even more phenomenal. So again, I just thought it was noteworthy to bring that up, so and express our appreciation to his hard work.
Thank you.
Next, just wanted to let the board know that we have some surplus items that are on the agenda. One of which is an old piano that was back in the Senior Community Center. And then the next one is in the police department. We have, I apologize, this is awful fuzzy. It's some light bars from an old police vehicle, right, Chief? Okay, so that we're declaring surplus. No action needed, but just needed to bring that to the board's attention. We actually take action on those twice a year, but not this evening. Next, I have the personnel update, and all that's on the agenda tonight is the resignation of Shane Schnell as a part-time medic firefighter. Date of resignation November 11th, 2019. And that's all the activity from a personnel standpoint we have in the township. And with that, I will turn it over to Kim for community events and programs.
Thank you. We are wrapping up from Winterfest. We had that last weekend. It was a success. We had about 1,000 people that attended over a 2-day period of time. We collected about 40 coats, 200 candy, about 50 toys for our Heroes and Helpers program. Huge appreciation goes to the Springfield Township Public Works Department, also the police and fire. But the Public Works Department was out there for 2 weeks, preparing and getting ready for the event alongside with staff at Arts Connect. It was a big undertaking, and I think it went well. It's a little less of an attendance than we had hoped for, but it was still a really positive event. Arts Connect's next event is January the 31st, and we're going to have Playhouse in the Park come out, and actually we are partnering with the Wyoming Fine Arts Center and hosting that at their venue. And we are bringing Stuart Little, and that show is at 7 o'clock p.m. and is free.
I just want to say that Kim, through her own effort and initiative, came up with the idea for Winterfest. She works tirelessly to make it a success. While I know the attendance probably wasn't what she hoped for, I still think it doesn't diminish the work and the effort that she put into that event. And I think she should be congratulated for that, because it's those type of things where what makes this staff so incredible, that I didn't go to Kim and say, hey, we need to do a 2-day winter event, and this is what I all want. This is something through her own effort, through her own initiative, did on her own. The same with all of our staff. Everyone, a lot of the great things that we accomplish here is because they come up with it themselves. They're dedicated enough to this community and to their job and to their profession that through their own efforts, they ask to put on these events. So I think regardless of what you may or may not have thought of the attendance, you did an incredible job bringing that event to the community. And whatever happens with it in the future, I wouldn't look at it as you did something wrong or because no one got there. We did everything right. And beyond that, I think with the resources that we have available, the amount of events and things that Arts Connect and Kim's able to pull off is nothing short of spectacular. So I think she necessitates some congratulations for her as well, and the effort she puts forth in those events. So.
And I will also say that I did talk to some of the residents that attended for different periods of time, most of them on Saturday. They all thought it was a great event, and they were thrilled with it. So the people that do come obviously enjoy it. So it's sometimes it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality, and I think the event was a quality event. Thanks, Kim.
I agree. I'll say one thing, the kids were sure enjoying the puppet show. So that was packed. And so that it was a lot of fun, and the people who were there had fun, so.
I do need to just kind of recognize, we had a lot of business support from this. We raised over $20,000 to put this event on for the community. And we could not have done it at all without all of the sponsors that were involved. And we had over 120 volunteers, and they all came from our schools and neighboring businesses. So it was a community effort. That in itself was a huge success.
It was a community development as well as a family-oriented development. Mm-hmm. And the kids were just having a great time, and that by them having a great time, that meant their parents were having a good time. And so I equate it that way because, I just watched how they interacted, the families, and it was a family affair. And we're making history and continue to make history for having those types of events, not just for the Christmas holiday festival or the holiday festival, but for everything that the Arts Connect does. And it's, you've heard me say this multiple times, it takes teamwork to make a dream work. And so she had a dream, and everybody worked together as a team to make that dream a reality. So again, I think give Kim a hand for the great job that she did in organizing that as well.
Next, I have the departmental activity reports. The board obviously has copies of those, so unless there are any questions, that concludes my report, except that I would ask for an executive session at the end of this meeting for compensation and employment of a public employee.
Okay. Before we go into our resolutions, which is where we are, and I'm just looking at all of our staff, our department heads, everything that we've done every day of the week, every hour, every minute, it would not happen without the leadership of you all here. Everybody in this room, the leadership is phenomenal. So again, give you all a big hand. I mean, I'm giving out hands tonight, okay? So, a job well done. So, we're going to begin with resolution number 119-2019, authorizing sales by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the police department.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Mr. Honolaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 120-2019, declaring motor vehicles located on public or private property in Springfield Township Hamilton County, Ohio, to be junk motor vehicles pursuant to Revised Code 505.173, and ordering the removal of such vehicles pursuant to Resolution Number 80-2012 and Revised Code 505.871.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next resolution is number 121, 2019, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township, and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And the next resolution is Resolution Number 122, 2019, approving a major change to an existing commercial planned unit developments, CPUD, and preliminary development plans to enable construction of a medical office building.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Okay, moving right along, old business. Anyone have any old business?
I have no old business.
New business.
Under new business, the only thing I would say for anybody watching this evening is last night we did have a zoning hearing here before the Board of Trustees, and this involved the resolution number 122 that we just passed, and this was for a major change, major change or revision to a PUD on Winton Road for the property that is right at the intersection of Winton and Compton, the sort of East Compton heading towards Wyoming. This is going to be the location of a new Christ Hospital medical facility. We saw the plans. The developer, I think, has taken into account the thoughts and concerns of some of the adjoining neighbors. This is going to be a 15,000 square foot medical facility. It's going to be a real asset to the community, and we're glad to see Christ Hospital deciding to invest here in our community. So that's it's another plus for the township.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A good sign for economic development and redevelopment in our township. Any comments?
The only thing I have to say is, Gwen, we are going to miss you very much.
Thank you.
I'm not going to make you cry, but
Don't
we're
do
going to miss
that.
you very much.
I'll still be around.
That's for sure, and you're always welcome.
Thank you. Next, we have citizens' participation, and this is an opportunity for anyone, if you have an issue or discussion you want to bring forth to we as the Township trustees, that this is your opportunity to do that. We ask that you step to the podium and give us your name and your address and share with us what your concerns are or compliments are. So I see one person, and he looks like he's coming to the podium, and we giving you this opportunity to share with us your concerns.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Connington. My wife and I reside at 9526 Beach Drive. We moved in there July of 2018. Love it down there. What the issue that we have, not just me, but other members of the community, and I have paperwork here that I'd like to share, is not the amount of traffic, but the amount of traffic that violates the speed limit, which is 25. They've had 3 or 4 different times we've had the electronic speed signs out there, and they got some data off of those on what the average speed is, high speed, low speed, things like that. 21.6% of the people drive the speed limit. The big issue is trying to get in and out of your driveway. I try to back in so that it's safer to pull out as rather than backing out. Can't tell you how many times people have tried to push me off the side of the road because they don't want to wait that extra 2 or 3 seconds for me to safely enter my driveway. Like I said, it's not just me, it's other residents also. I've spoke with some. I've only been there a year and a half. I don't know a whole lot of people down there. But I have spoke with the ones right in my general area. And they're all, we have, just about 2 months ago, they put up additional signage. Right after I moved in, I had some signs made up. Tried to drive 25. They have these signs down in St. Bernard and Elmwood Place. And I'm a bus driver down there right now, and I'm a former resident of St. Bernard, so I see a lot of this. So I had some of my own made up, hoping that some people would, hey, this is 25, not 35 like a lot of the neighboring streets. I even had a lady stop by. She's a 30-year resident. She didn't give me her name, but I had a couple signs made up for her. She said, I always thought this was 35. I never realized it. And I said, well, when you come off of Meadowcrest, there's a sign. When you come off of Fleming, there's a sign. But in between there were no signs. So just in the last couple months, I've been working with Assistant Chief Bly. In the last couple months, we've had some additional signage put up, trying to, hopefully maybe people will see that and try and observe the speed limit. It's not helping. In some of these graphs, if I can come forward, I could give you some of the paperwork that I have made up here. Show you what I'm talking about. So the signage, they have, on the graphs, it shows only going
Thank you.
in the one direction.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
What else? There's approximately 1,300 vehicles that travel just one way. That's the street sign. I did make a mistake. I called that Maycrest instead of Meadowcrest.
I saw that.
I had to look at the map. I forgot. 1,300 vehicles. That's just in the one-way going north where the speed sign is picking them up. The speed signs, for whatever reason, have never been placed going south. So you can only imagine if you got 1,300 vehicles going north, you're also going to have anticipating 1,300 vehicles going south. That's a lot of traffic. There's nothing we can do about that. Everybody's allowed to use that street. We, as the residents of Beach Drive, would love to see something done to help us get them to obey the speed limit. I did find out in talking with Assistant Chief Bly that the funds from speeding tickets don't go back to the township. They're all sent downtown to because there's no mayor's court here, is the way I was understood.
The tickets are paid out at the county.
Correct. So none of the money's come back to the township. And maybe there's not that big of an incentive to have an officer sit there and write tickets. I don't know.
Well, just from an operational standpoint, what I would say is that we don't write tickets or not write tickets because of financial reasons.
I understand, but
it's
it may
generally
be a little
because-
bit of an incentive. Maybe, I don't know if that's the right word.
Well, not, your point's well taken, except that I can tell you from an operational standpoint, when I speak to our police department, it's never a factor that comes into play whether or not we're gonna make money or not make money on speeding tickets, which is why we sit there and write them or don't write them.
Understood.
It's primarily because we have 6 to 7 officers on duty at one time. We're 18 square miles and 40,000 people and 400 streets.
I didn't realize how big the township was till I moved here.
And every street is asking for the same thing you are. So our
I don't see anybody else here.
yeah. Well, and we
Not tonight, but
we
they're
respond
asking.
we respond to over 25,000 calls of service a year.
Sure.
So my point is, we simply don't have the time to sit in any one place for a long period of time.
And I understand. I wouldn't expect you to.
Yeah.
So in some of that literature that I showed you, there's a difference between a speed bump and a speed hump. Speed bump is what you're going to find in a shopping park, in front of Kroger's, things like that, to where
Sure.
you don't want to go but 2, 3, 4 miles an hour over it. A speed hump is more evenly
Gradual.
and then there's sometimes it's a flat surface and then it goes back down. Some of it's, Cincinnati has the speed humps, which are not flat on the top. That's actually called a speed table, I believe. And these they used to be just solid asphalt and put in like that. Now there are things that you can buy, it's like a hard rubber that you could actually just fasten to the street the way it is. You don't have to actually have a crew out there building this speed hump. I know it's a lot to ask. I know I've heard that in the past that things have not looked very favorably towards these types of things for different reasons. There's pros and cons about every issue.
Yeah. And while you're bringing up the speed humps, and then obviously, if the board doesn't mind, I mean, we've had these conversations a lot about speed humps and speed bumps. One of the major issues, and then I'll let our legal counsel step in, is one of the major issues with those, beyond the operational side of when you're plowing snow and what happens when you hit them and all those things aside, is from a liability standpoint, we cannot put anything in the right-of-way that would prevent someone from going the posted speed limit. So
This wouldn't prevent you from going.
So you could hit these at 25 miles an hour and go over?
According to the paperwork that I gave you, that's what it said.
Okay.
The speed hump, you could do that at 23 to 26 miles an hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Speed bump, you're not gonna do that because you're gonna tear up your vehicle.
Well, the thing is, if you hit something that's in the roadway that prevents you from going the legal speed limit, and either one, you damage something, or you're injured, or someone else is injured, the township is now liable.
I understand.
So that's one of the major impediments to it.
Right.
Beyond the idea of, all our snowplow drivers are cringing when if they hit one of these things. But,
Chief Browder, do you have any data on, did we have signs put there at any particular point, and what did the signs show as far as the speed?
We've done that a number of times. We've worked together well here over the last, year and a half, I think, here. So just our most recent one, and it's kind of broken out in many different ways, but the 26 to 30 miles an hour is the majority, which is 38.9%. 31 to 35 is about 25%. 21 to 25 is 20%. We've also, actually had officers down there a number of times. We have written several citations. We've also looked at the crash data over the past 13 years. And we've had a total of 4 crashes on beach in those 13 years. 2 of them were rear-enders there at Beach and Fleming.
Okay.
So those, kind of occur without really being a speeding issue there. And then one was a light pole where a 14-year-old driver had been in a car that shouldn't have been. And one other was just a parked vehicle that someone.
You actually hit a light pole.
A light pole.
They jump out in front of you, I've heard.
yeah.
At 14, I believe.
This is just a cul-de-sac that he ran over a light pole.
So out
I'm
of-
sure that's what he told his parents.
So out of all the incidents that we have, where there were citations given,
There were citations on.
that were issued,
Several.
were the majority of those citations issued to people that lived back there?
Unfortunately, the majority, or I say, because I can't speak for exactly how many, now that the Winton Road project is finished, the majority of people that we have had contact with are township residents. Prior to that, while that project was going on, there were, take your pick from any community that were using that to avoid that Winton Road.
Just so you know, Gwen, it's a big cut through
Yeah.
to get, especially with what's going on down on Springfield Pike right now, people are
With
avoiding
Wyoming
that.
and everything.
I'm one of them. I
They
do
cut
my
out
best.
I'm one of them. They cut down
Riddle.
Fleming, and then they go down Beach, and then they take Meadowcrest to Lee Crest, and they go to Riddle or even,
Right.
Bonham.
Right.
no,
Bonham.
past that to the last street there.
But if you'll
Riddle
see,
or Grove, and then they go down and take a left and head towards Tri-County.
But so the data can be skewed a little bit, basically, because of the construction that's going on, the road improvements and et cetera, right?
There's potential for that, and you would be able to speak better than I. Has it gotten any better since that project has?
no, actually, and I was really anticipating something like that. But if you'll see on the data when it was recorded, it was after Winton Road was actually opened up, if I'm not mistaken.
I would think Springfield Pike's going to be the one that relieves that.
It's always going to be.
That's where most people.
I have actually lived on Beach for almost 15 years, and it's always been a cut through. I mean, that's
Exactly,
why-
and we
that's
can't
why you
stop
have
that.
1,300 cars going
Right,
through
and we
there,
can't
because people
stop
are
that.
cutting around. You know, honestly, if the police were there, I mean, most police officers, and Chief can tell me if I'm wrong, but most of the time, if you're, 7 miles over the speed limit, a lot of times the officer won't give you a ticket, he'll give you a warning. And if you look at what this says is, of all these people that are going through there, about 8% would even qualify to get a ticket if we had somebody there. So 92% of the people wouldn't be going fast enough to get a ticket. I'm not diminishing that 8% is anywhere near zero. I'm just saying, the only good thing that where you're talking about has going for it is, especially going north on Beach, you have to stop at a stop sign. You got to go straight down a hill and stop at a stop sign. So anybody dumb enough to go 40 miles an hour down that, past your house is heading for a straight downhill where they're going to have to wear the hell out of their brakes to get.
The ones
far to
that
stop.
amaze me are dump trucks or large vehicles pulling equipment, heavy equipment, and things like that, like you said, go that fast, and they have to brake pretty quick once they hit that hill. The people coming out of Conrad, on my sheet I showed you, it's about 1,000 feet between Meadowcrest and Conrad. You can't see down there. You can't see who's coming up that hill, and you pull out, and they're right on top of you.
That's coming down Beach.
It's coming
Down the
off of
hill.
Meadowcrest and taking
Right.
a left, coming the
Taking-
opposite direction
Correct.
of what we're talking about.
Correct, going south.
I mean,
I'm looking for a solution is what I'm looking. I don't know that I have it. I don't know if anybody does. You can't sit there. I've been through this with Assistant Chief Bly. I understand your position. That's why I'm here.
Mike?
Let me just throw out one option, and to your point earlier about being the estimated ADT, the traffic count, being somewhere in the vicinity of $2,600 or 2,600 cars per day. I would probably, without even looking at your stuff, I'd have a lot of concerns of putting anything within the roadway. I think it increases our liability, not to mention that probably with that traffic count puts us Beach in the somewhere top 3, if not top 5 of traffic count for every street within the township. Perhaps there's some different options with signage. Maybe we can look at solar illuminated signs. I know we added some signs, and I'm sorry to hear that that's not really necessarily coming to benefit.
That's just not the way people drive nowadays, unfortunately. It's a totally
Patrick,
different.
you're right. Unfortunately, people, not just on Beach, but,
Oh, I agree.
I was riding with one of our officers on a street that had cars parked all the way down one side of the street, a narrow street that had cars parked all the way down the street, and the speed that people drive on these streets. And, there's cars, it was just dark in the summer, so it was about 9 o'clock, and if somebody steps out in front of one of those cars, they're gone. And these
Exactly.
people.
It's
are
all
going
about
40
me
miles
anymore.
They're in a hurry. Everybody's
Exactly.
in a hurry to get everywhere. And I think it's more societal than anything, that
It
people
is.
don't
I agree.
follow law at all. I mean, they pull out in front of people, they do, all kinds of things that are dangerous. I'm shocked how few accidents we have just with driving down Winton Road and having people pull out of places, when you're going
They don't care.
40 miles an hour on Winton Road and somebody pulls out in front of you and they're just like, they'll stop.
Exactly.
And
I agree.
so I think
I
it's
agree.
more societal. Unfortunately, the speed bump or the speed hump or whatever, I mean, it's a nightmare for us especially when there's snow on the ground, because all they do is tear up our trucks and tear up the road, because they can't see that when there's snow on the road and they're going down there.
There's a sign, you would legally have to put a sign saying that there's a speed.
Right, I
limit.
understand, but when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're trying to plow
I understand.
snow on 100,
Snow and it's hard.
400 streets, it's a little different than the average person seeing, hey, or knowing because they drive there every day. I don't know
Cincinnati
what the
has,
solution is. Maybe if we put some signage about children at play, or I don't know if any of that would help.
I like the intervention.
Well, I'm just
that you
saying to make
suggest.
people
Right.
maybe a little more mindful of what they're doing.
I like to try it, when we look at intervention, and how a person's mindset is, I think your strategy would be something I think we could explore a little bit more, Mike, because if you drive most of us drive all over the place, county, city, wherever, and I continue to be frustrated and amazed at how many reckless drivers there are out there, and how many will come up on you so fast, or they'll cut in front of you and will even give you the finger if you blow your horn at them,
well, yeah.
So, it's just ridiculous, and it is a societal behavior thing, but I like the intervention that you suggested possibly we could look at and explore the feasibility of it, and basically, based on that, see if there's been any type of a shifting or decline in the speed limit, but it's everywhere. It's, my
I agree.
neighborhood,
I agree.
It is, and
I drive a school bus, I see it
so
all day,
you
every
know
day.
what? Yeah, absolutely. People don't even respect school bus drivers
No,
like
ma'am.
they used to. So I do not support any humps or bumps or softer, I know the danger of that, and I've seen if a car is going too fast and goes airborne, what that could lead to. And I'm not supportive of anything like that. But
Wouldn't that be their responsibility?
It would be their responsibility, but also if that happens and there's a kid out there playing or your car sitting out there, then it becomes everybody's responsibility, especially if the life of a person is lost. But I like to look at the intervention and see if there's some way that we can explore other alternatives.
I think if there's some way we can try to help, I mean, you're not the first person. The reason people come and ask us to put the humps in the road, and I know they're not here tonight, but we've had many, many requests over the years that they want us to do that to try to slow down the drivers. The other problem, some of these people, it won't matter, but I think if we can try some other kind of a solution to try to, if it slows them down a couple miles an hour, that'll
Exactly.
help. I mean, any little bit will help. That's why I thought maybe some sort of, I guess people just don't care.
Well, like you said, most of the people are traveling 5 to 7 miles over. So if we could just get them, the ones that aren't, to get to that 30 miles an hour it's no problem. But when you can see on the speed signs when they're 35, 40, 45, that's just ridiculous.
55, 50 was one of them.
Well, and
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy because they're going right down a hill and the other worry about having some
I
sort of.
drive all over, I appraise real estate, so I'm all over I do 7 counties. But anyway, in Cincinnati, if I hit those speed bumps at 25, that's too fast.
it is.
I mean, I go down to about 15, because it'll tear the bottom of my car up.
And they have plenty of them out throughout the city.
Well,
So
the city limits their speed limit, we can't. The city can say 15-mile-an-hour speed hump, and then they're covered. We're not allowed to do that. We're stuck at 25. So we can't tell them to go slower.
Well, and I just would say, most jurisdictions Cincinnati is pretty rare in putting as many speed bumps as they do. The growing trend is not to put them in or to remove them, because they do create a safety issue it slows down your safety services, it obviously interferes with snowplow, and by and large, what they found is people just speed in between them. So you get more noise, you get more
Yes.
emissions, there are lots of studies that talk about how they don't really solve your problem for the people you're trying to solve the problem for. I mean, the people who are at 5 miles an hour over, you can't even legally give somebody a ticket 5 and under. The statute doesn't allow for it, because we can't really validly say that they're absolutely over the speed limit if you're using a radar detector. Lasers, I think they allow sometimes, but I think it's still in the statute. So 5 and under is like, okay, that's pretty much the speed limit. It's a tolerance that we take. Anything over that is a problem, but a speed bump is probably not going to slow down your person going 50 carelessly. They're just going to maybe slow down there, they're going to fly over it. And the question of liability is whether, we have to look then to whether we maintain them appropriately. We have to really monitor them, because if there's anything wrong with that speed bump and the person going 80 goes over it, yes, they were violating the law by going 80. But if the thing in the road was really a hazard, then we're responsible for it. And whether we're liable or not, if somebody goes over a speed bump or a speed hump that we put in the road and they go off the road and they kill a 5-year-old, I don't think anyone on this board cares about whether we have to pay money for that. We care that we put something in the road that killed a 5-year-old. The guy going 50 down that road may not kill anyone. He may just be traveling down the road too fast. But if we put something in the road that causes him to leave the road and harm someone, then and there are lots of cases like that. So that's,
And I worry about that house at the bottom of the hill on the corner there. I mean, if somebody hit that and lost control, they could head right for that house right there on the corner of Meadowcrest and Beach, because that hill's good. I mean, once they start, if they're going that fast and they lose control, they're going straight downhill.
Going down a hill.
And they lose control of the car, they could easily run into that home, or the car's in that driveway and somebody's out there. I mean, and I know she has her grandkids out there all the time, so.
Right, the one down there on the right-hand side.
Here's what I know you came tonight looking for a solution, that the speed bump was an idea. You're not saying that has to be the solution. You're just offering it up as a solution.
I don't have another solution.
Yeah, so here's what I would promise you, and with the board's approval, is that as a staff, Public Works, police, we will get together, and we, just like we have in every other situation, is see if there's a way that we can calm traffic outside of a speed bump or a speed hump. And at the end of the day, just for our own due diligence, we will once again review those again. But I think let us try and find some alternative solutions, because I know that's really what you're looking for. So, and then we'll circle back with you.
Okay. Well,
Fair enough.
I appreciate your concerns and your attention.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's my street too, Patrick.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Nothing else.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Yeah,
Oh,
we have to
no,
go
we
executive session.
need to go into executive session
For the
for the,
compensation and employment of a public employee.
okay.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're in executive session.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Patrick.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.